Hello and welcome to the Rose Rehash. That's right. Every Tuesday night after the Bachelorette, we rehash the show. I'm going to do a recap tonight. I'm going to give out awards and then I'm going to take your questions. So if you have a question tonight, I'll answer at the end. Just tag me in the comments. Also, I want you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'm not just putting this out here. I'm putting out stand up. I got tons of clips from my podcast. So get subscribed to this YouTube channel right now. Also, like, comment, let me know if you agree or disagree. Tonight, we're doing a classic recap. Let's go through the whole episode. I thought tonight was a great episode, a very classic episode of The Bachelorette. It had a little bit of drama, but it had a lot of love and it had a lot of tough decisions. I like a tough decision episode because tonight we were going from 8 to 4. That's a big jump. We're going from 8 men hanging out who are friends and she's getting to know to, hey, 4 of you, I'm meeting your parents. That's a huge jump. We have to understand the severity, the seriousness with which this episode, because you're breaking things off maybe earlier than maybe you would have if you had the time. They're saying to you, nah, the clock is up. And this is going to get to the overall theme of the episode is I have to make a decision. You're great, I'm great, but maybe this isn't it, and I can't wait any longer is really the theme of tonight. And that's a very relatable theme. Michelle is in a position, just like you. Hey, we've been dating this long. We either have to be in a relationship or not. This is how all relationships happen. You think this is just the Bachelorette, but Michelle's told, hey, you got to get down to 4 and you got to meet the parents. This is the same as you, where it's like, hey, we've been dating for 10 months. What are we? And then it's like, hey, we've been dating for 2 years. We should move in. And it becomes move in or break up, engage or break up, marry or break up, baby or break up. Do you see the relationship this has with your life? I think it's very interesting. And that's kind of what happened tonight because Michelle did have great relationships with 7 out of the 8 guys, and she had to get it down to 4. But let's start with the beginning of the episode. We start where Michelle asks her students to help her. This would make sense to me more if she was a college professor, but she's actually a 5th grade teacher. So she's asking children to help her make this decision. How do you choose which child is going to be helping you? Is there a kid at home being like, Miss Michelle didn't ask me to help her figure out the love of her life? Like, how do you distinguish? How does she go back next year to these kids and they're like, hey, Miss Michelle, heard you had the other kids help you find a boyfriend. Cool that you didn't ask me. It's a little weird. And then the kids come in and it's like, she never even presses them to be like, hey, what questions are you going to ask? She just, go ahead, young ones, figure out the rest of my life for me. So the kids go to the men and they basically all say, hey, we're going to get to know you and then we're going to choose which one of you that we like the best to go on a one-on-one date, which is very important at this part in the show because there's no more one-on-one dates left. We're going straight to hometowns. The kids play with the guys. It seems like, first of all, Martin just looks like he's never spoken to a child in his entire life. He's looking at them like, hey, I can get comped bottle service in Miami. And it's like Clayton, I keep calling him Colton. Clayton was great with the kids. It seemed like the rest of the guys seemed to like play with them, have fun. But some of the kids had good questions. They'd be like, hey, so do you want to have kids? And some of the kids would be like, are you good at handstands? And it's like, keep your head on task, kids. We're finding a husband. Handstands? Are you good at making a fort? Like, I kept imagining the children going back to Michelle being like, well, Clayton's good at fort making. And that's important in a marriage. And it's like, oh, like you're trying. I need some good questions out of you. So they end up picking Clayton. Clayton goes on a one-on-one date, and Clayton and Michelle have a perfectly nice time. They go to the museum, and they have some pizza, and the date is all planned by the students supposedly. And to me, I watched them on this date. And I was like, these are two people that like each other, don't love each other. It never felt like it was very sexual. And these are two sexual people. Like they're two good looking adults. He's a big muscular guy. She's a beautiful woman. It never seemed like they were hitting it off on that level. And Clayton kind of opens up in a way that is respectable to me on The Bachelor or Bachelorette. Usually someone will go into whatever tragedy they have, but it's always obvious when someone has no tragedy at all to talk about and when they lie about it. And Clayton doesn't even lie. I like Clayton for this reason. He was like, yeah, I've just been single and never really settled down. And that's really all he has to say. But they never really hit it off in a lovey-dovey way, and you couldn't even feel it. And you saw Michelle at the end of this date pick up the rose and say, I like you, but I don't love you. I got to send you home. So Clayton gets sent home after this museum planetarium date, and it's fine. That's the thing. Clayton's fine. She's fine. They're not fine together. The weird part was Clayton gets sent home, and then they have this like post scene with Clayton having the kids visit. Apparently, Clayton made such a impact on these children that they had to come back to him. It felt like a post-credit scene in a Marvel movie where they needed to connect this movie to the next movie. They didn't know there was going to be a number two, and they were like, hey, bring in a couple characters, and we're going to retape a scene to put in the post credits so that we can explain that there'll be a sequel. Because we know that Clayton's going to be the next Bachelor. We don't know really why. To be honest, Clayton gave a good going away speech. Most people, when they're kicked off of the show late, they kind of do this last grasp at letting you know how hard it is for them to find love. And Clayton does a good job of that. The only thing Clayton really does is he's tall and muscular and he cries and he says he wants to find love. And we're all supposed to be like, oh my. And it's like, I don't know if I didn't get that feeling. I don't know about the women watching, but you need the women to like really want him to find love. But I don't know if that was really happening for anyone at home. So I have to wonder why they made this decision so quickly for him to be the Bachelor. The only reason I can see is that they liked him as a person, that the producers were like, this is a good guy that we want to hang with for months at a time. So I don't really know what pushed them to make him the Bachelor, but it did feel like the scene was there to make him the Bachelor. So we go to the group date. The group date is good. It was a farm date. The men have to milk a cow. They have to, hug a baby cow. They have to churn butter, and I guess the way you churn butter is the same way you masturbate as a man. It's a fine date. I liked it because there was no wrestling competition. For whatever reason, these last few seasons, it's just been all wrestling and mud wrestling, and it doesn't really involve the woman. This seemed to involve Michelle. I like that she was like, ooh, he can take care of a baby calf, so he must be able to have a baby. So I like that stuff. And they go back to the post date, and Martin is really talking like the bad guy this episode. Martin is saying things like, we miscommunicated. She didn't understand what I was saying. Martin seems like a Miami cliche to me. He seems like someone who does well with women in Miami, and it's because they've already had a bunch of drinks and they're not really listening to what he says. And here he's out of his league to me because he says things behind Michelle's back, and then Michelle calls him out on it, and he goes and he starts trying to explain it, and he's calling her baby and love, and he's doing all these things to semi manipulate her into thinking that she's misunderstanding what he's saying when she's perfectly well understanding everything he's saying. So to me, Martin seemed like someone who believed how smart he was at a nightclub in Miami. Like, it didn't seem like someone who was conversing at a library with a woman. It seemed like he was someone who had been sounding like someone he was not for a long time. And I mean, that comes down to the fake glasses he's wearing. He's wearing glasses to look smarter than he is because he's not that smart. He doesn't know how not smart he is. That's the thing. If he knew, I sound like an idiot. He even says, he goes, what would your friend say is your downfall? And he's like, oh, that I, speak. He said something that I'm too cocky, or that I put, he said something about how he speaks. And it's like, no, you don't know that you sound bad. You don't know. You're not willing to say, I screwed up. No, you're going to defend yourself even though you sound like a stupid idiot. Martin gets sent home, sight unseen, and then the rose goes to Nate. So Nate's going to get a rose. Now we have Nate with a rose, and we have 3 left. So that's where we stand. So now we are going to go to the one-on-one with Brandon. Brandon and Michelle go for an ice cream date. It's very wholesome. It's very Minnesota. They go to her childhood home, and they decide, we're going to get in the hot tub. And he even says in the beginning, he goes, are your parents here? And he's worried. He's like, I got to meet the parents. I didn't know that was coming. She goes, my parents aren't here. So they go in the house. She sees her childhood bedroom. Her Letterman's jacket is up for some reason. That would be something that would cause me some pause with Michelle. I'd be like, you're still wearing the Letterman's jacket. Cool. What are you? We're 28? Okay. Yeah. Everyone does that at 28. Then she's like, let's take a dip. They're going to go in the hot tub. And she says, put on my dad's bathing suit. I am not putting on another man's bathing suit. I feel uncomfortable trying on a bathing suit when I'm at a store. I keep my underwear on. I just don't. I don't think anyone wants any other person wearing their bathing suit. And I think it's different for men than it is for women. I don't know why it is. I think women can share bikinis and feel cool with it. I think wearing another man's bathing suit, it's a little icky, especially the dad of the woman I'm trying to date and see. They go to get in the hot tub. They start making out. All of a sudden, mom and dad show up. And it's awkward. They're like, hey. And he's like, hey, nice to meet you, Mr. Young and Mrs. Young. And they go and have a talk. And the talk seems to bring Brandon back. And Brandon is head over heels. I do believe Brandon is in love with Michelle. I believe Brandon's never met a woman like Michelle. Brandon seems very young. I've said this on this show many times. He seems young, and it seems like Michelle is like the first person he's ever had a connection with, because it's the first person he's really ever dated and had serious dates that weren't, a situationship. And he actually does the most bold thing I've ever seen on this show. He goes, Michelle, can you leave? I need to talk to your parents. And he asks her parents for their permission to marry her, basically. And you could tell the parents were uncomfortable. They were like, yeah, well, if she wants that, then we want that, which is the way of saying we'll see when she sees, which is perfectly nice. They go to the date later that night. Again, Brandon seems in love with her. He says, I'm falling in love with you. And I don't think Michelle picks Brandon. I think he is too young for her, but I do think she loves how much he loves her. And not in a bad way. I don't think that's an attention-seeking way. It just seems like I have to see this through. So we leave that one-on-one date and we go to the cocktail hour. We go straight to the cocktail hour. Tayshia and Caitlin make their court-ordered one appearance an episode. They actually made 2 this episode. Really working in the coal mine this episode. And they're like, we're going straight to a cocktail. We're going straight to a rose ceremony. No need for a cocktail hour. And it's between Olu, Rodney, Rick, and Joe. And Joe and Rodney get the rose. And Rodney getting the rose is a surprise to me. Olu doesn't get the rose. Olu, who it seemed like a friend connection. Rick, it felt like they were connecting on a next level. They never really explain Rick's, departure. He really opened up to her, but maybe opening up wasn't enough. It didn't feel like the connection. But Rodney, after all his speeches of being 5'0", 100 and nothing, the ugliest guy, never the tallest, never the this, never the this, he gets through. And we head to the we head to the hometowns with Rodney, Nate, Brandon, and Joe, which totally fine with that. I thought it was going to be Rodney, Rick instead of Rodney, but that's what. And I would say the theme of tonight, as I mentioned in the beginning, is the breakup with someone that you like, but you know you can't go to the next level with. And I think it is interesting to see the no reason breakup comes up with all these guys except for Martin. And that's the hardest thing to do in the world because you're going, I just can't get to that next level. And they all understand. And I think there's a lot of people watching at home who have been in the no reason breakup. The people that all of us have done one or have received one. And you have that moment where you're receiving and you want answers why, but Michelle couldn't even give it. Michelle couldn't give an answer. She couldn't. She just said this isn't it. And sometimes that is the only answer. Let's give out some awards. Let's go to the Batchies. The Batchies is where I give roses to my favorite characters of the episode and divorce papers to my least favorite characters of the episode. Let's start with the divorce papers. The first divorce paper is going to go to Martin, of course. Martin, there we go. Martin was out of his league. Martin is classic. I think I'm smart just because I wore glasses with no prescription, but I'm not that smart. I'm not smarter than everyone else in the room. I'm smarter than someone in a loud nightclub and not when they are one-on-one with me and I have the cameras rolling. He kept using words that made him think he was smart. He's talking about maturity and, she's dealing with things in her past. And it's like, Martin, you didn't listen to anybody. You were too busy speaking. You were too busy trying to wrap people around your fingers. And it speaks to your whole wardrobe. You're going to wear rings. You're going to have the fun hairdo. You're going to have the spectacles. And it's all just a mirage for what's really going on. It's the guy that's just as dumb as the rest of us. The next divorce paper is going to go to museum dates. There's no good thing that can come from a museum date. A museum date is all lying. You have to sit there in front of a woolly mammoth or a painting, and you got to go, cool. And in your head, all you're thinking is, how long do I have to sit here and stare like I actually am thinking something so that I can move on to the next exhibit? Museum dates suck. We're all faking it. None of us know what to do. We don't want to read the little little inscription on the side. We just want to get to the food court at the end. The last divorce paper is going to go to parents' hot tubs. I don't think anyone has ever gotten away with a hookup in a parent's hot tub. You can never do it. It never works. You always leave a towel out. You always wear a bathing suit. Your parents come home in the middle of it. You can't hear the garage because the bubbles are going. The parents' hot tub is always a recipe for getting caught by your parents. It is a bad date, bad decision. It should never be done again. Let's go to the roses. First rose is going to go to Michelle. Michelle's been fantastic all season. Tonight was the same. The way she ended things with Clayton was very respectable. The way she sniffed out Martin. She didn't fall for Martin's games. I didn't expect her to, but I just love the way she was calm, even in the face of someone who was borderline trying to manipulate. He's sitting there going, love and baby, and you don't understand, and you're not listening, and he really pulled out all the stops, and Michelle didn't buy it one bit, sent him right home. Next rose is going to go to ice cream dates. What an amazing display for the ice cream date. They had a big old ice cream cone that looked sexy as hell. They're licking it. They're licking each other. It's daytime. The sun is out. You got the old, the teenagers serving the ice cream. It's a fantastic date. It got a great display tonight, and all of us should be going on ice cream dates in the future. The last rose is going to go to child wingmen. I wasn't sure about sending her students out to check on the guys. And I gotta say, I was proven wrong. These students, these kids are 10 years old, and they were like, Martin stinks, Clayton's cool, Rodney's fun. They sniffed this out sooner than Katie did any of her guys on her season. These fifth graders, I would trust with my life. I'm going to let these fifth graders swipe for me on Tinder from now on. They're going to be in charge of my Hinge profile. I am getting a group of fifth graders, and I am going to have them as my consiglieres for the rest of my dating life after watching tonight. Let's go to your questions. Do you think we'll see Martin on Bachelor in Paradise? I do actually. I don't think I think Martin was bad boy enough, but not mean enough to get himself kicked off of the season. So I do think Martin could be a good Bachelor in Paradise contestant. I also think he has a look that pops off the screen. It is something to be seen on camera. So I do think he'd be a good guy on Bachelor in Paradise. Not necessarily a good guy in person, but I think he will be someone that you would want to see there on that show. I think it's pretty obviously between Nate and Joe. Thoughts? I'm with you. I think it's been Nate and Joe the whole time. I think Rodney's more of a friend vibe. I think Brandon is too young and kind of too. He's not what Michelle wants. Very obviously, Michelle is in a next phase of life. Brandon, to me, is a childhood crush. It looks like. Not to say that's anything wrong with that. I just think Nate and Joe offer the things, and that hey, we're on the next phase with you. Let's do one more. Let's do two more. If you were on The Bachelorette, what gift would you give the Bachelorette at the end of your one-on-one? See, this whole gift thing, Brandon giving her the gift was like, wow, dude, like you are going for it. My gift would be, I'm not a gift guy. I think I like an experience gift, and that's kind of tough on The Bachelorette because all the experience gifts are given to you by the producers and the production. To me, a gift in this scenario, that's kind of why I think Brandon's too young for her. That is an immature game. That's a guy who's never dated before or really doesn't see the, like when do you get the gift back? At what point, is your grandma want something, that the bracelet back? It just, to me, the gift is like a middle school thing with your girlfriend and not an adult thing. I wouldn't do it. Let's do one more. What flavor cone do you order on the ice cream date? I am getting strawberry. At a place like that, their strawberry ice cream has to be the most delicious straw. You got to go classic. If it's a truck with the door open and they got a bunch of flavors, you go strawberry, or you go chocolate vanilla combo. But I'm going strawberry, all the way. That's tonight's episode. Back next week. Boom.